Welcome to the HubHive podcast. We have Court Lundberg, the CEO and founder of Rare Breed Plumbing. Court, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Founded Rare Breed Plumbing about 6 years ago with my wife. And, for about 3 years, we just ran it as kind of a mom and pop shop. Just me, and I was doing all the plumbing. I was answering all the calls. I was kind of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And about 3 years ago, we were like, I think that we need to probably start to grow this a little bit and venture into, instead of just owning a job, maybe trying to own a business. And we've been growing like crazy ever since. So
one of the reasons I asked you to be on the podcast, so everything about the HubHive podcast is helping empower communities and help people become discovered and learn maybe some marketing best practices and how to get out there. There's a lot of people with ideas or like, I want to go and do this, but most of those people don't have the marketing expertise. It's just like, we'll just figure it out as we go, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so the one thing that intrigued me is I've already seen your branding around on the streets. Your wraps and your branding is like pretty out there, and your brand is powerful.
Yeah.
And then I see you on social media. I noticed that you don't have paid ads that I've seen. It's mainly just organic, just you going out there, and a lot of people, when they start a business, they go to social media and places like, I'm offering this, I'm offering this, I'm offering this.
Yeah.
But you offer a lot of education, and it's just maybe talk to me through your approach of starting Rare Breed Plumbing and how you've learned I've got to get into kind of the marketing side, and what was your strategy?
Yeah. So, as a one-man shop, like most people that start plumbing companies, they're technicians, right? And that's what I am. I like to fix the plumbing. I like to actually be doing the plumbing. And that's where most plumbers start out. They know that they're good at plumbing, and so they think that they should start a plumbing business. But as you start to grow and scale, like everything shifts. And now when I was a one-man shop, it was really easy for me to go do plumbing, at your house. And then you would tell a couple of your neighbors, and then it would keep me busy enough for just me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as you grow and scale, you would hope that happens, but it just doesn't. And so customer acquisition is the name of the game. Like, we're not a plumbing company. We're a marketing company that happens to do plumbing. Like, that's the venture that we will collect revenue from you. But you have to be known and seen, and especially in the Salt Lake market, I think that if we can do it in Salt Lake, we can do it anywhere, because Salt Lake is one of the top 3 most competitive markets for plumbing in the United States. I talk to other small plumbing businesses, and they have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 companies in their area that are over 20 million. In our area, everybody's over 20 million. Like, I could tell you 20 companies right here in Salt Lake that are over 20 million. And then there's the behemoth, Any Hour, that's $120 million a year. And so to stand out in a market like that, it really goes down to the grassroots movements, if that makes sense, which is community. And it's, what do I want to consume as a consumer, right? Like, I don't want to watch ads. You don't want to watch ads. Nobody wants to watch ads. But if I can learn something, I like to learn stuff. Everybody has plumbing. Everybody is potentially interested in what I have to peddle. And so if I can be more educational, if I can show, different things like that, I just want to be top of mind, and I want to be omnipresent in that way.
And you've got to have a funny twist to it sometimes too, right? Like, you've got to really put yourself out there, and it's some things like when I see your videos, I do video a lot too, and we have clients that we talk about how powerful video is. Like, it's one of the single most powerful things that you can do to be relatable, for people to really have a window into who you are and your personality and your character. It's just so uncomfortable for people.
It's uncomfortable for me. And I get a little bit more comfortable with it, but like, I have a policy that every Thursday, nobody works from the office. Only I work from the office. And that way I can go in and I can lock the doors. For whatever reason, once it's out there on social media, I don't care as much. I don't like it when my guys pull up the videos because I do some weird stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like you've probably seen, like I'll put on a wig and
Yeah.
I'll sing a song or do whatever.
You got to do.
And that's not fake because that's genuinely me. Like I'm not trying to be anybody else. Like I'm fine being silly, but in the moment, it's uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
once it's on social media, I don't care.
Oh, I feel you. We've done our own, like Garrett and I have made some really funny, weird videos that,
Yeah.
we put it on there and we love people watching it. But when someone's watching it like with you, you're like,
I'm not a fan. I don't like, yeah. Yeah, I don't like to see my performance like that. But yeah, I don't mind putting on the wig but I think that everybody with their content, if you're not going to be doing education, you need to be doing entertainment. Like those are the two avenues that you got to do.
For sure. And you do have to make education entertaining as well. I mean, it's such the short form content and things like that you just like really have to capture. And you see people when they're trying to create videos, they see the thing that's trending and then they try to recreate that.
Yeah.
Just to try to, that's what captured me. I'm going to try to package that into some form of education that I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like, there's a lot to marketing. And one thing with our audience that we hope to help is to help them scale to a level that's not too technical, where they don't have to think about like doing all this massive stuff at the start. They can get somewhere and then think about, how do I do a website? How do I do SEO? How do I have a video content engine? But there's things like, I'm sure for you when you got started, and we'll talk about your branding a little bit from going from Lundberg services to plumbing to Rare Breed. I thought that was a really cool shift, the way that you've, it's just a unique branding perspective that you have that I think helps in this saturated plumbing world and in the services world. But I'm sure, you're starting where you get that word of mouth because you have, good consistent service in your 5-star reviews.
Yep.
But I'm sure you started with just like a simple Google My Business and added yourself on Thumbtack, things like that, right? Just like quick.
So for me to start out with, do you know what home warranty companies are? Mm-mm. So when you first buy a home, a lot of the times realtors will offer you a home warranty. Mm-hmm. And so there's these companies that basically you pay them, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000. And then if anything breaks in that first year, they'll come out and you pay a small copay and people like me will go fix it, if that makes sense. So like, that's how I first started out, is I went for whales like that. So a home warranty company, they can send you 2-3 jobs a day.
Really?
And I had built up a reputation with them where I was getting like 7 jobs a day from just one source.
How do you get your foot in the door like that? Because I'm sure it's already saturated with companies who are already doing it.
It is and it isn't. So the main thing for them is cost, right? If you're the lowest bidder, like it's a race to the bottom. This isn't a sustainable way to build your business. Mm-hmm. But to start a business, it was really good for me. If you're the lowest cost and you have quick response time, they'll feed you work. And so my whole business was just built around them and then handing out business cards to everybody. And so if I got another job that wasn't them, awesome. But like they were the whale. I mean, they were 90% of my business.
Wow.
For a long time.
And what are they now?
Less than 1%. They're nothing now.
Really?
Because as you scale, like I can't do that same work. I could do it myself personally. And again, it was a high paying job, right? I didn't make a ton of money. I made really good money compared to what I was making as a W-2 employee, right? I could write stuff off and, I had a truck and I was able to make the payments and it was making a good living for myself, but I can't have overhead, any amount of overhead. You can't work for these companies sustainably. And so that's kind of where I got started. And then once we decided to start to grow, then entered SEO. I didn't know what else to do. So I was just like, well, we're going to have to start SEO at some point. I didn't really know what it was. It was just kind of a trendy thing. But I decided that maybe we should start there and start to build credibility with Google because that's what everybody else told me to do. And
you did that all yourself rather than hiring an agency,
No,
right?
So I did hire an agency from the start.
Okay.
I did. I found it very similar to this. I found a podcast that gave me value, that they had a marketing podcast They just drilled in SEO, and I spent money with the idea that like I'm not going to see a return for 6 months, but eventually this is going to be the foundation that we build upon. And that was the same thing with the rebrand. You kind of mentioned that. I mean, I was Lundberg Services, and then I was Lundberg Plumbing, and then I jumped over to Rare Breed. But it was because, and I argued with myself a lot over this, Lundberg was very sentimental to me because it was my name, right? Lundberg means something to me. Like if I'm going to hang my hat on it and hang my name on it, like this is my genealogy and this is my legacy and whatnot. But it doesn't mean anything to anybody else. Like it just doesn't. And that was a hard pride thing for me to get over. And so in the service industry and plumbing, what I'm really selling is I'm selling plumbers, right? Like I'm not selling anything else. Like the talent, however good my talent is how much I can charge. You could charge way more for the talent that you have, but people aren't going to call you back. Like people aren't going to bite. And so it was kind of I wanted a name brand that conveyed not only to my external customers, like people that wanted to hire us, but also to internal customers. I wanted to be able to be the place that we recruited.
Because people don't realize that marketing is internal as well, right?
Yes.
Like you can have slogans, you can have, but even like when you're talking about like people who are coming to work for Rare Breed Plumbing and really seek you out because of your mission and your values and things like that. And even, I think one thing that people find really hard about marketing is when you build a company and you own it, you care about it so much that every touch point from the marketing to the servicing, like you feel that and you give them the best experience you can.
Yep.
But how scalable is it when you get the someone else that's answering the phones that doesn't care if they lose the sale, or you spend all these time creating videos and word of mouth and building this reputation, and then what happens? And how do you maintain that care and that trust as you scale a company to have that marketing on the other side to say, we're going to care about you and we're going to build that loyalty and that advocacy?
Yeah. I'll tell you advice that somebody gave me that I still don't agree with, but I think unfortunately that's why it's what most people think. Is he told me, he's like, if you're going to scale, you're going to have to let go of some of the, how did he word it? Like the quality control. Like it will never be as good as if you touched it. And like, I heard that and like everything in my brain was just like, that's not true. But I see a lot of companies that almost scale like that. And I think that that's been one of the powerful things about our branding about Rare Breed is like, it is from the moment that we're recruiting, like our first interview, it's like, this is only a place for the elite. This is only a place for if you're the best at what you do, if you care, if you have goals, and like this isn't a place if you just want a job. If you just want to come and answer the phones, probably not a place for you.
But that has to be true at least temporarily, right? And especially like scaling your organization and changing that.
Yeah. Well, knowing that like sometimes calls are, you got to zoom out, right? Like this person who's answering the phones isn't going to do it as well as I am for the first 100 calls, right? There's going to be 100 customers that have like a bad experience, or not a bad experience, but a less than suboptimal experience, like not what I would have given them. But if they know from the beginning, like, hey, you're starting at this point, but I need you here, and they're working towards that. The problem is that people get in, and once they know that they feel comfortable, they stop growing in anything, right? Like in high school, once I felt comfortable, that's why everybody on their senior year dips out, because they're like, oh, I've got this. If that makes sense. Like there's no push to be better. You're about to exit. And that's how a lot of people treat their jobs. Like, you're good enough. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's like, no, you're not good enough. Like, if you're really good at this, then we need to move you over into marketing, or we need to teach you financials, or we need to, like, we're a growing organization. We need leaders everywhere. Where do you want to grow?
So how do you incentivize or push them to continue to be uncomfortable growing? And
I think you just sell the vision. Like, we have a 5-year vision of where we want to be revenue wise, but it also has a 5-year accountability chart of just like, this is where our managers will be. And what does this manager position look like? Like, what traits do they have to have? And then you just tell them, it's like, you might be employee number 1. This position isn't yours based on seniority. It's whoever deserves that position, they get that position. So like, what are you going to do to get it? And then like, I don't have to push crazy hard because it's like, somebody's going to get it. Or we're going to go out and find somebody that hits all of those traits. But like, everybody knows that they're chasing something. Like, if you want to be an install manager, that's awesome. I need you to be the most efficient on all of your jobs. And not only that, I need you to be able to teach the people underneath you to do it as well. And like, they know what that position should look like, and they know that it doesn't exist. And so they're, I think painting the vision of what you want it to be, but not, this was my mistake, and it still is my mistake as a leader a lot. I want people, like, if you think of it like an art piece, like, I want people to go and paint the Mona Lisa because that's what I'm doing. Like, that's how I consider my job. Like, I'm creating all the time. In reality, most of your employees need like a paint by numbers. Like, that's what they need.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you're telling everybody like, hey, so talking to you, like, this seems simplistic. It's like, go be great. But like, the reality is like, you have to give them a paint by numbers and be like, what greatness looks like is that you check all of these boxes. That's what greatness looks like, not just go be an install manager.
And then they manage that, you measure that until they understand the vision, and then perhaps they can be the ones that are crafting that for those that underneath, right?
And you start to see it just like in day-to-day conversations with them of just like, hey, we need to, like, when they start to be the creative and they're like, we need to do this because it moves the needle. It's like, okay, now you're understanding. Like, now I feel like the pressure's off a little bit. Like, we do need to redo this on the financials because it would make everybody's life easier. And then you don't have to drive it as hard. But from the beginning, you do need a very paint by numbers type of system. And that's what like the E-Myth is all about. Like, I think the E-Myth, if you read the E-Myth, you've probably read it.
I haven't.
You haven't read the E-Myth?
No, I haven't read the E-Myth.
Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Learn something new every day.
E-Myth is like the most popular business book I've ever even heard of. But the E-Myth is all about that, of what we're talking about, like systems and processes. Like, you could be the person that goes and bakes the pies, but then your business is limited to how many pies can you make.
Absolutely.
Like, the difference is like writing down the recipes and like getting somebody else inspired on your vision to bake the pies exactly how you bake them. But that's hard, especially coming from a plumber. Like, I'm very much not a systems and processes type of guy. I'm especially service plumbing. Like, it's broken. How are you going to fix it? It's not ABC. It's just like, I know the result I need. Figure it out. But that's not how your employees, it's not how it works. Like, they need a roadmap of just like, what is process A, B, and C?
If this, then this.
Yeah. And the people that strive better without the processes, because if you're trying to manage everybody like I get managed, like a good example is when my first job, I worked for a machine shop, and I was in shipping. And so my boss wanted me there at 6:00 every morning because the first pallets went out at 7:30. The problem is like, I would typically work late and I knew what parts were coming down the line. And so if I had all the parts done, I didn't want to be there at 6:00 because like, I was done. Like, the process doesn't make sense to me.
Sit there and wait. And
like, I'm the type of person that's like, well, if I already checked all the boxes and I already know everything, why do I have to follow this system and process? And so for me, it was hard to put systems and processes in place because I know that if they don't make sense to me, I'll kick against them personally. But
that's rare too, right?
Yeah. But I have guys like that they'll kick against the system. They're just like, this doesn't make sense. And they'll kick against it.
And that's what you want, right? I mean, as a business owner, somebody told me one time, you may not be the best to understand what should be happening around you, but you're the best one to understand what is and to report that.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things. You've probably watched Undercover Boss, where the boss comes in and works like, why are you doing things like this? Like, yeah, it's been broken for 10 years.
Yeah.
This is just the way we do
This
it.
is
And
how
he
we
just
do it
gets
now.
frustrated. Like, I didn't know that for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
But it just takes, like, there's systems and processes, and sure, that's perfect for scaling, even with the imperfections that happen, the people who don't kick against that,
Yeah.
that just like sit in. But there's all that waste and inefficiency that, you can look in. And I see that in some of the companies that I run and help manage too, where I'm like, okay, great, this is operating on its own. Now I can step back.
Yeah.
But I look at the little things and I'm like, that's happening. What was the decision around this?
Yeah.
And that's what makes people afraid to scale.
Yeah.
And that's like what you were saying, that, somebody has told you that it might not ever be as good as, there's a recipe where if you don't believe that's true, you've got to have a different recipe that's, that reporting back up, and to say, how do we optimize those things that are failing once those are discovered, right?
Yeah. And you need to know, like, just when you brought up recipe, have you ever heard of Ruby Snap cookies in Salt Lake? Okay, you got to go visit
Dirty
Ruby's.
dough,
Yeah.
crumble.
So dirty dough crumble, whatever. Ruby Snap cookies, they're fantastic over in Salt Lake, but they're just like a little mom and pop shop. Tammy owns it, but she's trying to get into mass distribution, right? But she has to alter recipes for that. And so in some things, but the quality doesn't need to suffer. I think you just need to, like, for me, it's the customer experience, right? Like, I'm willing to change systems a little bit, and maybe the way that we plummet, like, that's not quite as good as how I used to like it before, but, like, is the customer experience still the same? Can I put the same warranty on it? Like, I don't know. Like parts, for example, like there are higher end parts that maybe I could be putting, but at the end of the day, sometimes I need to put in slightly cheaper parts, but I know that it's going to work the exact same. It's just, sometimes you sell yourself on their better parts because of marketing or whatnot. Like when I buy mayonnaise, I'm always going to buy the most expensive mayonnaise because I feel like that's the best one. I've never even tried the cheaper ones. I don't even know. I don't know.
The same thing with a different label.
It's probably the exact same thing. But I see a lot of people kind of get stuck because they're like, well, this system isn't perfect. But I think that's the scary part of entrepreneurship, is like, it will never be perfect. Like, even when you look at these giant companies, this is my personal opinion. Have you ever listened to Business Wars?
No.
Okay, there's a podcast called Business Wars that you should listen to. But it's like, it's kind of like a documentary. So they take like Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, and they talk about, how did Coca-Cola get started? How did Pepsi get started? And what fights did they have, and who's winning and why? But when you listen to those things about Coca-Cola, you realize, like, you think from the outside, Coca-Cola is this indestructible monster that will never be taken down. And when you listen to it, you're like, oh, Coca-Cola is just as much of a train wreck as my mom and pop shop company. They just manage that train wreck a little bit better. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, a lot of the times we're looking at everybody else's business saying, wow, they got it figured out.
From the outside looking in, it's always polished. The brand's perfect.
Yeah, from the outside looking in,
and they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to figure out how to manage everything.
It's the same train wreck. It's just somebody's managing that train wreck a little bit better. And I feel like that's the importance of sitting down and having conversations. Is like, Rare Breed isn't perfect. Like, I admit it. Rare Breed isn't perfect. Our P&L and our financials and our bookkeeping, and there's so many things that we need to work on. But like, we're not scared to go in and scale, I guess, even though it's not quite perfected. If that makes sense.
And what's your timeline of scale? So from the time you started your one-man shop, you hired one employee. One of the things that I read about that I was inspired by for scaling was to give them more opportunity, to enrich their lives. But what does that timeline look like from going from one person to two person to one team to two teams to...
Yeah. So we're at 18 employees now. Hired my first employee 3 years ago.
Wow.
So what it looked like for me was I had 3 technicians underneath me at first, and I was still answering all the calls and I was doing all that stuff. And then I hired my first office gal. And hiring somebody in the office, man, I would do that a lot sooner. If I could go back, like that took so much strain off of me so that I could just be with the plumbers and doing the plumbing. And then we went, now we have 4 office gals full time and 14 plumbers, and we're broken out into different divisions. So we have people that all they do all day is dig, and we have people that all they do is install, and then we have guys that are running service. And
okay. And this is all home plumbing services?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so,
residential.
So what's the
service.
decision behind, whether you do residential or like commercial installations? What are the pros and cons, and how do you balance and kind of put yourself into a package of services?
Yeah, so I feel like you want to find something and kind of specialize in it, and you want to find something that you know really well. So with plumbing in particular, you can go a million different routes, right? We could do new build, we could do commercial, we could do commercial build, we could do commercial service, we could do all of that kind of stuff. And there are companies that just specialize in certain things. Each one has its own different things. So for example, with residential new build, the reason why I won't do it is because I'm dealing with a GC who's getting bids from 20 different plumbers, and it's a race to the bottom. Very much like the home warranty stuff. If you're the cheapest company, you're going to win. And so with that, for me, the average home in Utah right now is what, $500,000.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new build plumbers that can't buy a house. And quite frankly, I don't know if they ever will, because their pay, I don't know how it's ever going to go up, because their company is the race to the bottom, if that makes sense. And we get people from new build all the time. Service, however, we're dealing with a different level of complexity, right? Now you're not dealing with one GC and all they have to do is train their plumbers how to plumb, right? That's it. With residential service, I have to train my plumbers how to plumb, and then I have to train them how to be excellent communicators with you, right? How to sell, how to give options, how to make sure that the experience is good. They have to clean up after themselves. Like they have to show up in a polo and shoe covers. Like I demand a different level than a new construction.
And that goes into the name of rare breed plumbing, right? Like there's a lot of companies and brands that will brand themselves one way, but it's really hard to hold up to that standard that's branded. And you can start to see it, and that's the cost of scaling. You're not able to scale if you don't manage that on that side. And so that's like for you, making sure that you find and you hire the best of the best that have good reputation, excellent communication skills. It's not just the trades of plumbing, right?
Yeah.
It's the presentation and the cleanliness and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And this is an interesting year because we just made the decision as a leadership team to pump the brakes on growth, because this is the first year. I mean, we had 2 interviews today. We probably interview 10 to 20 people a month right now, which is incredible. Like as far as a residential plumbing company, almost nobody's
organically. Like what's your
So, well, and that's the thing is, like we said, you have to market to your internal and external customers. Most of my marketing is to both. And so like we do a residential journeyman prep class. So there's a lot of plumbers out there that no company has ever told them that they need to get licensed. So I put on a whole class now, and it's free for anybody to come in. Well, once you walk in that door, I teach you how to pass this test so that you can make more money. But also now you're in my pipeline of people that I can,
smart.
Right? Like I invite you in, you see our whole operation, you see our guys, you see our branding. Like the packet that I give you is all riddled with my branding and whatnot. But this is the first year where we're pumping the brakes on growth, because it's like, I do want to live up to those standards. And what I found is it's so much easier for me to take a kid that knows nothing about plumbing and mold them into what a rare breed plumber is, rather than take somebody with all their bad habits that might be an exceptional plumber. But when I bring them over here and I'm just like, do it this way, and they're like, well, that's harder. It's like, I know it is. That's how we do it. Like
Yeah.
you can't kick against this process because it does matter, even though you don't see it, it does matter in how many people are going to call us back. It does matter in, how many people are going to refer us. And this is a machine that I'm building.
So many times it's just easier to mold the ignorant that doesn't know it can't be done that way, right?
Yeah, it's just like, because if you can get them, I mean, people are most impressionable when they first start. And if I can get them in and say like, and explain, you don't have to bullcrap anything. Like, it's facts. I question all of my customers. Like, I did a poll with all my customers. I was like, why do you not want to call a plumber? And women in particular were saying, well, a stranger's coming into my home. Like, I feel uncomfortable with that. And it's like, okay, I didn't know that. I need to educate my plumbers on that. So if day one, I educate you on, hey, you're going to be entering women's homes that don't know who you are and frankly don't know whether or not they can trust you. They know that this needs to be fixed. Like, how are you going to gain their trust? And it's not like, I need you to talk softer to them. I need you to not scare them. I need you to educate them. I need you to tell them, this is what we can do. What do you want to do? Rather than shove it down their throat of like, you have to do this. And a lot of plumbers, unfortunately, will do that because it's worked for them.
Yeah, and that's something
years.
like one of my first experiences when I very first bought a home that I just had my kitchen sink that was clogged. I went through the process and found someone. I found some ad that says, we will snake your sink for $30, something for $30.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's a great deal. And I was still, a little bit like, they can't possibly do this for $30. So I call them up and I say, okay, you're going to have someone out here and that's all it's going to cost me, $30. They're like, yeah, $30. They'll snake it.
Yeah.
And there'll be no additional charges, right? No additional charges to come out. And it was the guy that was the owner of the company. He comes in and he says, we're going to have a special snake with sprayers or something.
The jetter.
It's going to be $400. We can't, it's going to be $400. We can't do it with the snake. And I'm like, this says that and he's like, it's not even going to work with the snake. We've got to jet it for $400.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I called the lady. She said it was, and so that part of that is like I said, people market one way and then you go in and you just get a certain experience like that. And finally he's like, fine, let's compromise. What do you want to pay? And he's like, I don't even have the snake with me. I just have this jetter thing. And I'm like,
what?
You said it says $30.
Yeah, that's the only reason you're here.
It's $30. And so the whole time he was working on it, he was angry about it, but I was holding him to that. I'm like, this is uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, if you're going to you can't have a deceptive marketing strategy to get people in. And I've heard of that with locksmiths and things like that too. Like, how do you market in the search intent when you have deceptive marketing that if you're honest, you're never going to get the call, right? So do you face things like that?
Everybody's got the $29 thing, right? Mm-hmm. We don't do a $29 drain cleaning because I think it's dumb, quite frankly. What we try to do instead is I want to make a win-win. So we have a membership instead, right? The membership is $18 a month. So it would be $200 total, but I'll get you one free drain cleaning in that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my way of saying like, hey, I want you to see monthly that you're paying me. And I want to add value every month for that. I think that there are a lot of people that market deceptively. And I think that's been one of the things that's changed the most over the last decade is when I first started plumbing, nobody really questioned me about price. I honestly didn't really talk about price in my apprenticeship. I would go in, I would do the job, and then I would tell you the price, and you would just hand me your card, and everything would be done. Mm-hmm. Because you trusted back then up in Logan that whatever price I told you was fair for what we were doing, if that makes sense. And so whether it's $100 or $500, you were like, okay, that sounds fair. Now we have to talk about price before we even start because everybody's perception of plumbers now is that we're used car salesmen. And they're not wrong in the sense of that is how a lot of companies operate. When I talk about this journeyman prep course, there are so many companies that you are either a salesman or you're a plumber. And the salesman will go in first, but they don't know anything about plumbing. Their job is to sell you stuff, and then a plumber will come in and do it. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. all of my people that will sell anything are all plumbers. Like they could do the job right then. If it turns out to be like a 1 or 2 day job, I'm going to send it over to install because they have bigger trucks and they're more equipped for it. But the deceptive marketing, I feel like there's so much you can give away for free. And I feel like that's what's hard about the plumbing world is they're like, what we do isn't crazy hard. And what I mean by that is like, there's a lot of risk involved. If you don't do this right, you're going to flood your own home. That's why you're paying me. You're not paying me because you don't know how to use the wrench the right way, right? Like you're doing it to mitigate risk because of what you don't know. That's what I need to market towards. And so me giving away knowledge to teach you how to unclog your disposal for free or how to snake your drain for free, or if I can give away all that knowledge to you, I think that you're going to call me when you get into the situation where you're just like, hey, I don't want to do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about your outrageous late fees.
The late fees?
Yeah, so I saw a pretty compelling article or a post that you wrote about. Maybe talk a little bit about that because I found that really interesting.
So in the state of, I can just talk about the whole post if that's all right with you. So in the state of Utah, you can charge compounding interest on late fees, which is crazy to me. Like, but that's what we have in our policy right now. And I did it under the advice of an attorney and another plumber for exactly that. So with residential service, we are cash on demand, but for whatever reason, sometimes people don't pay right when we're there. Maybe they weren't home, whatever. But tracking down the money can cost me a lot.
For sure. Sometimes it's just impossible. And even the cost of collections is like, sometimes you just write it off, right?
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't had to do that very many times, but like I've shown up to people's houses, 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, hey, I just need a credit card from you really quick. And I'm not like combative in nature. Like I'm not a very combative person. So it's just like, hey, just need a credit card really quick. And then I'll get it from them. But people will blow you off all the time. But we had this gentleman and he's like the CEO of this big bank, kind of this big wig. We did like a $10,000 job for him. We did a great job for him. He was happy with it. For whatever reason, the technician didn't collect money at the time. Well, then we start calling him and emailing him and shooting him texts, and he's just ignoring us over and over and over again. And finally, we hit 30 days. And so what we did was we charged a 1% interest fee for the entire 30 days on
every
that
day,
10,000
right?
For every day, compounding for every day. Nasty policy, like super nasty policy. And we sent him over the new bill, like, hey, now you owe us $14,000. Like, please respond. And he calls us within like 20 minutes. He's like, this is outrageous. I'm not paying this. And it got escalated up to me, not because my gals couldn't handle it, but like they were just taken aback. Like this guy was like threatening us. He knows everybody. He's going to get everybody involved. And so these gals are like tiptoeing around, like, and they know that the policy is, I don't want to charge people late fees.
You just want to collect.
Ever. I just want the money. I want to be done with it. So they were willing to like waive all the late fees regardless. But I got on the phone with him and talked with him. And I think the important thing to know is like anybody that's providing a service, like my job is to just almost be the punching bag a little bit. Like I'm there to serve you. If I'm providing a service, I'm there to serve you. And that doesn't mean I will let you walk all over me, but like I'll let you yell and have your tantrum and, do your thing. So he yelled at me for a little while and I just went back to our core values of empathy. And I was like, look, like you're absolutely right. This is an absolutely nasty policy. You're right that this is illegal in most states, but the fact remains that in the state of Utah, it's illegal. It's a legally binding contract that you signed. But as a small business owner, like cash flow is my biggest issue. And as a big, CEO of a bank, that like for small business, cash flow is a problem. I'm not a bank that can lend you money. I'm more of a hard money lender. Like if you want to borrow my money, it comes with a big price because I don't have a lot of it to go around. And once I kind of explained that and not like attacked him, because I could have said, you ignored me. This contract is binding. Like we don't want to do work for you anyways, just pay it or I'll see you in small claims court. I could have said all of that stuff, but you'll never win. Like, and at the end of the day, I think that if you handle every combative situation in a way that like, how could they spin this in the worst case scenario? And I never want anybody to be able to run my name through the mud, if that makes sense. Like if I can always like stand on what actually happened and say, I handled that with dignity and pride, regardless, I think you're always going to win. And so far we've never had a situation. I know most companies our size and our length of time, like 6 years, they've had lawsuits or whatnot. We've never had one. We never will. We just
so
take
the
care
outcome
of
of that situation, he was very appreciative in the end and understanding, right? Because you gave him that time for
and
you
he to
paid
paid it right then
bag.
and he was happy with it. And like, if you can just explain to him like, hey, I don't want to charge you late fees. I never want to charge anybody late fees. This policy worked exactly how I wanted it to, which was we got a response out of you. And that's what we needed. We needed a response out of you. What's your credit card? Let's just get this settled. And, you know, I'm sure that he'll probably call us again sometime, and I'm sure that we'll probably be too busy to go do work for him with
or
how he
collect cash on demand.
or we'll get it, you know, cash on demand. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate your time on the podcast. And maybe as parting thoughts, anyone that's looking to get into the service industry, I know, you know, a lot of it is very saturated, but I feel like, you know, people who are getting into the trades and getting that experience that want to go off on their own, it's very comfortable working for someone and just being a part of that system. But some people have that itch to just kind of create something on their own. What recommendations would you give them just starting out if they're thinking, hey, I want to do this? Because I feel like, you know, someone who really wants to, even without all this marketing and tech, like all this stuff, it's easy to get your first 2 or 3 customers and
100%
kind of build that up. So for those maybe doubting themselves or thinking about, you know, taking that leap, what advice would you recommend?
I doubted myself when I first started. I feel like you're going to doubt yourself for a long time. Like I've been in this for 6 years. I still doubt myself. Like I still doubt, you know, you don't know that it's going to work all the time. But I feel like, especially with the trades, you got to commit to it, right? But Rare Breed was kind of built on that of just like, if you can just answer the phone and be honest, you're better than 90% of the companies out there. And that's not to be rude or disparaging about the other companies, but like there's a lot of companies who have forgotten what home services is all about, and that's about serving your customer. If you can just show up in that way over and over again, you're going to win.
And there's something valuable about you being yourself, the one on the phone and the one on the job.
Yeah.
There's something valuable about that because, you know, sometimes it is scary having a guy come out on site to bid something and then he's not the guy that you see on the job. And so I feel like there is a little bit of a unique advantage in that stage to say, like, I can own that experience. When I'm on the phone, I can say what I need to say. I can commit to what I say and pivot a little bit and try things out. Not as much overhead, right?
Yep.
So, you know, it's very easy to kind of get that experience. And I think if you're authentic and you're dedicated and consistent, you know, you can be discovered and noticed and grow that way.
And I think like that insecurity, like what you were saying, at whatever stage you are in the company, you have strengths to play to. Like when it was just me in a one-man shop, I plucked that string a lot, that marketing string of just like, hey, you're going to deal with me all the time. I'm responsive. I'm going to be doing this. Like, and then when we started to hire, you pluck a different string. You're like, hey, you know, now even if I go on vacation, like somebody's always going to be there 24/7. And now that we're even bigger, it's like, hey, I have more resources at my disposal. Like if you need whatever you need, now we can do everything. And any hour, you know, they're a big company. They have other strings to pluck of just like, if you really need anything, like we could be there at any hour of the day. And so it's just framing.
Just
like,
playing to your strengths and that unique angle that provides that unique value with whatever scale you're transitioning to.
And what's going to be hard is when you go from that one man shop, like if you're plucking the string of the lowest price, which I think that you might have to do at the beginning of, I at least had to do it. I don't know if everybody will have to do it, but I had to pluck that string a lot. When you get bigger, it's going to feel so uncomfortable because you're going to have to let some of those customers go. And that sucks. And that, like, you will have an identity crisis on it of just like, am I really doing the best by my customers?
That is hard, right? Like with the customers that you have, like setting a certain like low price precedent so they keep coming and like, man, I can't afford this, but I've built this relationship over the years. One thing that I have found when I've tried to get into, because I love photography, I used to do photography all the time, and I wanted to get into like architectural photography and real estate photography. And so for me, you know, you can reach out to someone and say, hey, I'll do it for $60 or $80, but then that's the precedent, right? And I've found out what I like to do when I'm trying to dip my toes into something, you know, and it might not be for everyone, and you might not be able to afford to do this, where I say, why don't I do it for free for you on this one? Because that's not the it's just, you know, let's start a relationship and I want to build my portfolio up, or, you know, the reviews or things. But by doing that, you can kind of gauge what that experience is and that relationship is, and then set a price that you don't want to have to fight later on, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So that could be one way as well. But yeah, I mean, there's always those unique angles to play off of. It's pretty inspiring the way that you've scaled pretty fast. You've started the company. It's still pretty young, right?
Yeah, it's still pretty young.
And I think your branding is spot on, just the name Rare Breed Plumbing, and then you read into it some of your values, and then you see the videos and the things that you're trying to grow. You get that, the inside process and culture into what you're trying to grow. Really cool. Connect Utah, I see you on there all the time giving advice. So, you know, leveraging Facebook groups. And Gary Vaynerchuk has the jab, 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 right hook that talks about, you know, a lot of people try to push what people are expecting is buy my product, buy my service, whatever. And I think you'll notice in Connect Utah or other groups, if you say, hey, if anybody needs plumbing services, we offer this, we're the best because of this, you know, you're going to get like 5 views. The algorithm's going to spot it a mile away. And so you have 50,000 people in a group and you get 10 views of something like that. But you go in there and just engaging with the needs and, you know, here's what we found in our business and those things. Then you have someone like, you know, me who scrolls through Facebook and I see like a lot of your posts and a lot of those things that happen. And so, you know, people, they got to make the sale, but you know, that process is just, you know, care about and have empathy for people trying to learn instead of you and your sale, and the sales will come, right?
Yeah, it just will. And on top of like the content's really important, but knowing like social media is a different game and it's a different skill set altogether. And when I first started on social media, like if someone didn't travel or if it got 2 likes, like I was devastated. I was like, oh, people don't like me. I took it really personal.
I can tell you're gaming the system, even in the way that you write, like, you know, we have outrageous fees or this outrageous, like something like that. I can tell that, you know, as a practitioner of these things, you write something, you measure the stats, and you're like, I thought this was going to be gold stuff, right?
Yeah. And then when it doesn't, and I'm going in and deleting it, but like, so I think as like a tip for somebody just starting out, like reading Gary, right? Reading Alex Hermosi, reading, who's the other one? Russell Brunson. Like those 3 guys.
E-Myth is going to be my book that I have to read.
Got to read the E-Myth, but like that hook, like that first line or that first 2 seconds is so important. And like, this is a different skill set that you need to learn. You just need to, because I'm all for marketing agencies. I think that you absolutely need them. But when it comes to your social media presence, like that's on you. Like I can hire whoever I want, but my brand is my brand and it's my voice. And if you can't sell it, nobody else is going to be able to do it. And one day I hope to systematize our social media to the point where somebody else might be able to take it over. But I don't know if that's ever going to be possible. Not on my personal page anyways, which is where I feel like the small guys need to start out.
Because it's your DNA, right? And people try to outsource that stuff. Like can you as an agency, can you do video for me? Can you do content? And I tell them, we can say, so we have Brainspin, our marketing agency, and we tell them we can post 5 things a day on your social media and we can do this, but all the hours and the effort that we're spending will have almost no impact from there because we don't know. We're not inside of your trade or your skills. We can have these great quotes and sayings and things that can fill, and we can say, here's what we did. But there's something else that we can do as an agency to kind of help amplify what's there. But if you don't have internally, if you're just uncomfortable and don't want to do it, it won't maximize.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to, the business owner needs to win over the hearts and minds of the people, right? Like they need to tell the stories and they need to really be.
You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. And like you said, like you feel like you know me because I tell all of these vulnerable stories that I'm not afraid to tell. Like just today, like earlier today, we looked at the P&L for April that just came in and it was terrible. And like, it's going to be a vulnerable post today, but like, I'm not afraid to share that stuff. Like, I'm not afraid to say, look underneath the hood at how bad everything sucks sometimes. If we can tell the story of like how we overcame it, if that makes sense. Like in order to get to where we've gotten to, one of the stories that I've written about is like, I had to sell my house to get here. Like this is not sunshine and rainbows all the time. This road of entrepreneurship can be really hard. I believe it's worth it.
And it might be a good story. Everybody's in different chapters of their lives. And so if someone's contemplating that and the risks and those things, like you being vulnerable and sharing that because you're in a different phase might give somebody else the courage to understand and say, that is something, not only what you've done to achieve success from that challenge, but there's things that you're probably facing right now that you haven't overcome yet that maybe you want to talk about and go through. But we're all here to learn from each other. Yeah. And I think if you can be vulnerable and you can talk about those things, it's a lot more relatable. I think the authenticity shows within a brand and within, even within your personal page. And I think that's something huge. And I think there's sometimes some of the greatest strengths that you have can be from some of the challenges that you're facing. You're forced to think about a unique angle of something that you're just too comfortable to even think about that otherwise. Yeah. So for example, like Garrett and I are building a social media app for communities and for service providers and small businesses just looking to grow. And we have a bunch of businesses on there adding their products on there, but we had a challenge where we had Gardner Tool House that has discount tools. And he said, I want to offer like the lowest of the lowest prices to this community inside of your app. And so we couldn't support that. We're trying to build that up and have it's called HubHive, and we have Hive specific pricing. Okay. And so we're trying to build that out to say you can add your products that these people in these hives will see this price, but it takes weeks to build out functionality for that. And so we have these landing pages that say, get your discount tools at this price. And we have a landing page that shows the price, but it's the wrong price because he shows it for everyone. And so we're like, okay, how do we solve for that? What do we do? And I says, what if we have an ad that says the prices in here are wrong? Yeah. And then you say, these are the prices that everybody gets when they walk in the door. Yeah. Our HubHive members get even lower than this. Call to find out what it is. But there's some things like that that can offer like more of that excitement and more of that like click to call or to find out. Conversions. And so I think, through business, when you have challenges like that, sometimes you can look at it and say, okay, based on this challenge, if I had to solve something, it could be something that you solve that sets a precedence for the rest of your business scaling, right? Yeah. And so from the outside looking in, from Rare Breed, from a marketing perspective, like where are the gaps in our armor? Like what do we got to do? What would you recommend for us right now? So one of the things that I'm like, I don't see a lot of what you're doing that could be better. I mean, you're on top of the video and the, and I've never been a customer of yours yet. Fortunately, we've had great. Hopefully you never do. Success. Nobody wants to call the plumber. But I think you're on a good growth. I've looked at your website. Your website looks very compelling, very clean. You have your like great call to actions. And I can tell that you're a practitioner of this stuff, of just something like, oh, somebody asked this on a call.
Yeah.
And why wasn't that conveyed clearly on the website? And you look and there's things on your website that's growing. I can tell that your website's still getting traction. I think technically, my advice for growing through SEO, because, organically your new website is still quite new, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My advice to you would probably be finding some more of those outbound, like this, like we're podcasting, we're going to feature this, we're going to link to Rare Breed and some other things that'll help. But I think some of that, getting some of the more reputable sites and things and
backlinks and stuff like that.
I think that would help. You have the blogs, you have the content.
Have you talked about backlinks much on your podcast?
I haven't, but
because I think that this is really powerful in the sense of like more small business owners should be doing this. And what I want to do in the next step of my marketing, personal brand development, and I think everybody needs to be working on personal brand development because the business is you. If you're a good person, if you're how would you say it? An attractive character or whatnot, then you should be it. But I want to do more podcasts like this, and do more backlinks. But could you explain what backlinks are? Because I don't know if I fully understand it.
So backlinks basically are other websites who are willing to link to yours. And Google looks at a certain ranking of a website. So for example, like Apple, Facebook, Google, they're ranked like 99, like they're almost 100%, like they're the top dogs.
Yeah.
And then you have like brand new websites that their ranking is 0 or 1. So you can get 1 million backlinks from websites that are ranked like a 10, the small mom and pops.
Which is what some people do, right?
Yeah,
like, people will sell you backlinks, but they're low quality.
Equal.
Yeah.
And they even create backlink farms that are spammy that Google can spot a mile away.
Okay.
And they can.
So that's what I've heard too.
Yeah, and so you can go on Fiverr and say 100 backlinks for $30, or you can get featured on this CNN whatever, like some back channel that nobody's watching, and an algorithm that Google has right now that they just barely changed is not only the weight of the backlink. So if I got a backlink on Adobe, so I've written articles for Adobe through their software design, and I've able to link back to Brainspin, gave me some great credibility and ranking. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they paid me to write articles. I was able to plug as well. When they did that, you find companies need articles written and companies need backlinks. It's just finding and marrying those needs and opportunities through there. Yeah. But now Google changed a different thing in their algorithm just recently, where it doesn't matter if Adobe has a website ranking of like 70 or 80, like really up there, and I'm linked on a blog that people are reading and they're not clicking on that link, they're measuring the engagement of that link now. So if 1,000 people are reading that article and 200 are clicking on a link, then they weight that and say, okay, here's the top dog website, here's a page, and it's getting engagement. Let's rank Brainspin up.
So how would you do that without it being spammy or like the equivalent of a $29
so some of the outreach that I've done is you be a little bit authentic to find people in the similar niche. So like you're in the plumbing and the trades. Any trades blogs or articles or DIY home or things like that. And there's some things that you go through and scour, and backlink opportunities that I've found is like I say, hey, your header's broken. I can fix that for you.
Yeah.
And so I go and like they invite me to fix something, and I say, while I do that, by the way, can I write an article on this on your website?
Yeah.
And so I find some things like that, but you have to like, what do they need? And I read sometimes 10 of their articles of like their most visited, their most engaged articles, where I say like these 3 articles are getting them like 80% of their traffic. Okay. And then I go in and say, what article can I write that's unique that can follow that same recipe or that same success? And then I pitch that and say, I've seen that these 3 articles are a huge win for you. I want to write this article that does this. There's things like that you can do to get them. There's websites like Fat Joe or Outreach Frog, where you can pay $200 to $500 a backlink, and that seems like a lot of money, but It's like you can go and get $20 backlinks that will not move the needle.
Yeah.
But the reason why they're so expensive, if you just like, I don't want to go into the practicing of doing that, I want to just hire someone that's reputable. They have their own algorithm that says not only do they have a high ranking, they have high organic search, it's a real website.
Yeah.
But it takes them asking 1,000 people to get 5 yeses for you. It takes time. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to pay for it, you can say, give me 10 backlinks a month.
So if somebody was a talented writer, they could get more backlinks by providing value to other websites.
For sure. So you have to be a talented writer. Like you have to write something somebody wants to read, for sure.
Yeah.
Publish and then also read in that engagement. Because if you publish something and you get that win, if they don't read it, it's not going to scale your website up. So it gets very difficult. It's basically all Google wants is to serve their searchers, their audience, good content. And now it's a little bit different now that like Reddit's on top of all of the search inquiries now, and AI.
Yep.
And so now it's like, how do we backlink in Reddit, and how do we create content in Reddit?
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, backlinks are still hugely important, and that's something. Another approach is it's like everybody's pitching, can I write you this article? And, and sometimes you see those and you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. That's if it looks spammy or smells spammy, you're just going to get deleted.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is, people like to link to tools if there's a plumbing service calculator or things like that. And so you've seen that, like, I guess for home mortgage. For home mortgage, there's like, interest calculator and how much your payments are going to be. And everybody has that. But there was this guy that started it and got a lot of leads. But now there's an app called lovable.dev that's like vibe coding. Like you can just say, like if I were you, I'd go into ChatGPT and say, I run rare breed plumbing. This is my service. Explain, your type of clientele and what you do. And then you say, I want to think about the top 10 tools that other people in my industry, other tradesmen would want to link to say, use this tool or embed.
Yeah.
What tools should I create? It'll give you a list of tools. One will resonate with you. You're like, that tool is great.
Yeah.
And then you tell ChatGPT, create me a lovable prompt that will build this tool for me.
Yeah.
It'll generate that. You copy and you paste that into Lovable. It builds it and you just embed that into your page. And then you do that outreach to say, hey, if you're interested in this tool, this is what it does.
Yeah.
We've done that. Like for BrainSpin, we designed a web style grabber where you can just paste in a link of a website, hit run, and it pulls the colors and the fonts and the graphics to kind of see a mood board. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got all the design industry linking to that. And it was like our single biggest, most visits and searches.
Yeah.
So it like 5 times all of our website traffic, just that one tool.
Yeah.
And so those are unicorns sometimes, but tools are more valuable than blogs, articles. So you could try something like that. Possibly.
Well, and that's kind of been what we've done, not with any backlinks or anything like that, but like trying to provide value. It's the same game. Like we do this whole home DIY inspection because I know that one of your concerns as a consumer is how much is it going to cost me to have a plumber to come and look in? So it's like, hey, this is our whole home inspection that my plumbers would do on your home. And here's a written little booklet on exactly what my plumbers are going to be looking for. Like download it and you can give yourself a home inspection. And if you have any questions, just give us a call. And we got a bunch of leads from that.
Now turn that into a checklist.
Yeah.
Turn it into an interactive checklist tool, like within 30 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
To put it onto your site. So things like that are super helpful. And then, you're doing plumbing and you probably know a lot of people doing electrical and doing other trades. You're in that network. So just kind of trade those things and just say, hey, we'll write for you and we'll link, but still has to be compelling. But yeah, I would say right now, looking at everything that you've done, if I were to consider next step is to lean on some authentic backlinks. Don't go for you can sniff the spam when you see the links.
Yeah,
you're like,
I know it.
Really? Yeah. But maybe as a last thing, what are some of the goals that you have? What's the next thing you're trying to achieve? Do you need to hire more plumbers, or are you? What's your pitch for? I know that you talked about you're putting a pause on your growth, and it's kind of interesting. Like I've always been an Apple fan, but
Yeah.
they had their Mac OS releases. It's like 150 new features, 200 new features, 300 new features, and I was really wowed by the level of features they had. But then, they had we're going to put a pause and we're going to clean up, and this is going to be twice as efficient, and this is going to be, and it really was like, it's like you had an old Mac and you plugged in the new software, and it was like twice as fast and stable and whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to pump the brakes to do that. And so right now, what are your next steps, and what would you like to offer to our audience in terms of opportunities?
In what ways opportunities?
So opportunities in terms of someone wants to build a career in plumbing, or is that something that you're looking to grow in?
So this year we hired, I mean, we're only like 4 months into the year. We've already hired probably 6 people this year. So an aggressive year. It was my goal to hire about 10. So we thought we'd hire about 4 more. I think I'm only going to hire 1 more person. And we're trying to get efficient. So 2 years ago we did 1.4 million. Last year we did 2.5. This year we're going to hit 4.4.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
like this is very aggressive growth still, but we're going to do it more on the backs of efficiency, if that makes sense. I want my installers and my service techs and my drain people, like I want them to maximize every opportunity. I want to start as far as like growth, like I have a customer base of 8,000 customers that I've never called, I've never emailed, I've never reached out to, I've never done anything with. And so we want to come up with good campaigns that aren't gimmicky, that aren't spammy, that are just value adds, and like get them to remember who we are a little bit and try to farm that. So it's just efficiencies that we're working on. As far as like if anybody wants to get into plumbing, or if they want to network at all, like I do a home service mastermind that is free to anybody. What I found is that most of my mistakes I could have avoided had I just talked with other people that have been there and done that. So we have
learn
companies
from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So we have companies in there like Western in that home service mastermind that has built up this giant company and already exited with private equity. We have Carrie that's, a $30 million company. We have people that are $8 million companies. I'm going to be a $5 million company here soon. And then we have a lot of people that are one-man shops or $1 million companies or $2 million companies.
Looking for that next step and looking for help and mentorship.
Yeah. And it's like, it's pretty easy. You just go in and talk. If anybody wants to get into plumbing, whether or not we're hiring, we put on classes every other week for plumbing specifically. So if you want to learn more about plumbing.
And where do they find that? On your website?
Nowhere. Here at the podcast exclusively. No, it's I mean I blast out about it on social media all the time, but I need to probably get a page about it just on the website alone.
Okay.
We've had a lot of really good kids come in and interview apprentice level, and they're not quite what we're looking for because you can only have so many projects. But we invite them to the classes and they show up, and they're kind of at the front of the line. I know that they're learning, they're working for another company, they're getting their hours.
But you can help them along their journey, and sometimes that trust and that relationship pays off.
And when there's an opening, they're going to be the first ones there because it's like they've already proven to me that they're invested in this as a career, not just as a job. But I need people that want to be career plumbers. And so,
that's awesome. Well, congratulations on your success. I think you're doing a lot of things right, and it shows in the way that in your presence, the way that you've grown. But really awesome to see such fast traction and someone just figuring it out every single day, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable and scaling
all the time. No, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me.